you can get lost in there 20 feet from each other. There's so much brush and so many weird rocks and so many, I had no clue.
You're listening to the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show, the voice of Grand Canyon hiking. Presented by hiKin, hiking packs and gear built to help you hike your best hike. Here's your guide, Brian Special.
Yeah, that's the thing about the off-corridor rim-to-river routes. Getting lost is not out of the question. Now, my big goal for this winter season, when there's no heat to contend with, was to day hike all of the realistic off-corridor rim-to-river routes on the South Rim: Tanner, New Hance, and Hermit. And after knocking off Hermit last week, that mission is complete. So let's talk about them, and also talk about all the Bright Angel and South Kaibab rim-to-river routes as well. My hope is you'll hear something that resonates with you and inspires you to give one of them a shot, especially with rim-to-rim being unavailable for the foreseeable future. Turns out there is a big old canyon out there to explore. With me for this rim-to-river breakdown is Eric Nelson, a physician from Prescott, Arizona, about 2 hours or so south of the canyon, who I met in our Hike Club Grand Canyon Facebook community and who invited me along for the Hermit Rim-to-River just last week. Here now is part 1 of our Rim-to-River review on the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show, powered by hiKin. See our front access canyon-designed hiking packs at hikin.club. That's HIKIN.club. The first one that I want to talk about is the one that's your favorite, and that is what? On the spot, baby.
I think, I kind of think New Hance.
Oh,
I'll go with New Hance as my favorite.
We'll go with the most gnarly one of all. What is it about? What is it about the New Hance to the river and back, which, by the way, is 13.4 miles, 5,144 vertical feet. It is a burly, beastly, big Grand Canyon hike with a lot of adventure along the way. What is it about that one that you love so much?
It has a little bit of everything that I like. One is it's just finding the trailhead is an adventure, right? Because I almost always will drive past it, I'm like, crap, I got to turn around and go back and park. Then you kind of go through the woods and you're like, are we lost? And then all of a sudden you see the sign, right? And then you drop in and then you're also like, are we still lost? Because you get on this trail and you have to follow these cairns and there's these big step downs and it's one of those ones where the first time I did it, I actually just had a paper map and I was just, you almost make a wrong turn at anyway, it's a blast. You come down, there's that saddle that you come to that's beautiful. And then you work your way around and you finally get down through this gnarly, difficult section. And then you come into another gnarly, difficult section going across the Supai for a mile or two. It's not as bad because you're not climbing, but they're just rubble. And then you come down to a beautiful, as you come through the Redwall, it's quite beautiful, as pretty much all these trails are. And you just kind of work your way down into Red Canyon. I love Red Canyon. I think it's very interesting terrain. The rocks are really interesting. And you finally get to the creek bottom. And then you think, oh, I'm done. But no, you run into these big rocks, these house-sized rocks you have to navigate around and climb over. And then you get this massive payoff at the end with Hance Rapids. And so, for me, that's just kind of the whole thing. In fairness, I've never done it down and back. I've only done it one day. I'm sorry, one time I did it down and back. But usually it's on the, I'm either going down or I'm going up Hance from somewhere else.
Yeah, if I'm recommending rim-to-river routes, this is probably the one I'm going to recommend the least. And the only reason for that is because of what you talked about in the very beginning. It's hard to find off the road, first of all.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I can enter in my GPS and it will find it and take me right to it, essentially. But when you get there...
What's GPS? No, I'm just kidding.
But when you get there, there's not a parking lot. There's not a turnoff. There's not a viewpoint. There's nothing like that. It's just, if you're
There's not even parking there. You kind of have to park like a quarter mile, an eighth of a mile down the road.
If you're driving down Highway 64, unless you know what you're looking for, you're not going to see it. So you've got to follow your GPS, and then you've got to look for, a little pull-off turn, not a turn-off, but just a pull-off off the side of the road where they will leave your car alone if you leave it there for the day. Just pull it far enough off the road.
Just on the south side of the road.
Yeah, and then on the north side of the road, obviously, as you head toward the rim, it is nothing but a little forest there, and you will see the spot where it's really well worn, where you can work your way back to the trailhead, which is a quarter of a mile through the trees. And if there were not a sign at the trailhead, I'm not sure
Yeah,
you
you
would
wouldn't
know
know.
there was
You
a
wouldn't
trail
know.
there, huh?
No. Anyway,
So
so I
when
think
I
that's my favorite though.
so when I did this hike, the first time I've been on New Hance only a couple of times, and the first time I did it, there was no snow, and I went down, dove in through the where the sign is there, started on down. It's extraordinarily steep. It's one of the steeper
Yeah.
trails on the South Rim,
Yeah.
and you want to talk about rugged, primitive, unmaintained.
Huh.
That is New Hance because I remember looking at my watch the first time I did this trail, and I was 6/100ths of a mile down the trail, 6/100ths, and about 50 feet, vertical feet below the rim, and I lost the trail.
You're barely
It's,
in there.
I mean, it's
I
so
know.
easy to do, right?
It is. It is. It is. Especially in the Cocodino. I mean, there's not much to market in there. You just kind of zigzag down.
Yeah, I think I lost it 4 or 5 times just on the way down my first time. One thing I did find though, when I went back and did it with Joe Adlock to the river and back just a couple
Mhm.
months ago, is there was snow on the ground, which actually made it easier because there
Oh,
were some poor
really?
souls who had marked the trail up before. So yeah, New Hance. I guess I'm not surprised to hear you say that because I know you like the big loop hikes in the canyon.
Yeah.
I guess I'm not surprised that you picked the gnarliest of the rim to river routes. What is it about these big off corridor hikes that you love so much?
Number one, they're challenging, but I don't know that they're necessarily more physically challenging than a rim to river or rim to rim. Maybe a little bit more. I like it because I don't see any people. You know, you did Tanner. You guys saw. I mean, typically I will see 1 to 3 people in a day. That's just kind of awesome to be out there from the morning, till night and see nobody, and to be in the Grand Canyon. You really feel that you're in the wilderness for once. Not sharing the corridor trail with hundreds of friends, which is fine, but it's a different experience.
It is a different
Yeah.
experience. Yeah, when I did Tanner a couple of months ago, we saw 0 other people the entire day. When I did New Hance, we saw 0 people the entire way
Wow.
until we saw a river trip come through at the bottom, but no other hikers. And when you and I, along with Dr. Myers, did Hermit to the River just a week or so ago, we saw no other day hikers. We did see a lot of backpackers,
Yeah.
but no day hikers. So to your point, it's kind of cool to just be out there by yourself. But do you bring anything along? Like, are you always hiking with someone, or do you bring a GPS like an InReach along just in case on these off corridor trails?
I should, but do I know? I guess I am stupidly overconfident in my ability to find what I need to do to not get hurt and to get out of the canyon. And it kind of came from, mountain biking out here in Arizona in areas with no cell service for a long part of my life. And just, I don't know, just not getting hurt. But I've been incredibly lucky when it comes to injuries and that sort of thing. And I do think an InReach would be a good idea. I just take an iPhone. I do use CalTopo as my mapping de- uh, program, and that works offline. So you can put the thing on airplane mode to save your battery, and CalTopo will still follow along. It's an interesting program in that you can create maps. You need to kind of use it on a desktop and a mobile device, but you create the maps on a desktop, and then they download to your account on your mobile device, and it will follow you very accurately once you're in the canyon. So it works as a pretty good GPS device. And then with the new iPhones having the satellite capability, I don't feel quite as strongly about needing the inReach. However, as you saw, the satellite in Hermit, the satellite doesn't work a lot of times.
Yeah.
You got to have a good view of the sky, and in a lot of the Grand Canyon, you don't.
I think I'm going to call us out here, Eric,
Okay.
because I've never taken an InReach with me.
Hmm.
And when I've done all these off corridors, I've done it with someone, which gives you, a level of confidence if something were to go wrong. But, if you're out there by yourself, I mean, listen, no matter how careful you are, you can get yourself hurt. In the
Yeah.
canyon. I mean, even something as simple as a bad twist in your ankle, right? And
Yeah.
breaking your ankle or something, suddenly you're immobilized. Well, then what the heck are you gonna do out there on these trails that we just talked about? You might not see another person for a day or 2, and if it's,
Right.
nighttime and it gets cold and you're immobilized, I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna be going without an inReach, by myself on any of these,
I should
off
get one. I mean,
corridors.
it's not a question of yeah, they're not that expensive, and you can turn the subscription on and off for it. It just seems stupid not to do it. I know friends that would definitely say it's stupid not to do it. It's because it's not the '70s. We're not, Benson. breaking was it Benson that broke his neck and then had to crawl out the North Rim, that crazy story?
In Tom's book, in the
In
Grand
Tom's
Strat.
book,
Yeah.
he's like crawling, he's
Yeah.
in the middle of nowhere in the North Rim and had to crawl to this cabin and kind of recuperate for a week or so. But we don't have to be that tough in some ways because it's not this. We have better technology we could be living with nowadays.
Yeah. So I guess I'm trying to say, I think we're making a mistake by not having the inReach. I'm going to call myself out on that too, because I feel like, I don't know. It's just one of those things. If something were to happen, I mean, you'd be
Yeah.
kicking yourself to no end. You're like, why didn't I just get that thing? Why didn't I just have that with me? Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And it's the bias that you have from your experiences, right? And so my experiences have been very positive. I essentially never get hurt. And I've been around friends that got hurt though. And you're like, well, yeah, I should be smarter.
yeah, I mean, I've got my mom's cousin, actually. His name is Nick Cordy, and he's a
Mhm.
big time Grand Canyon backpacker and has been for a long time. And he is actually in Tom's book, Over the Edge, Death in Grand Canyon, but he is alive, right? He
Yeah.
survived, but he's one of those cautionary tales in that book of someone who, took a wrong step and
Mhm.
ended up going down a cliff 20 or 30 feet and becoming immobilized.
Yeah.
Only because he was with his son-in-law, who was a paramedic, and his daughter, who stayed with him. And the son-in-law was able to make a run for the river, flag down a river trip, and they eventually were able to get help. But just
Right.
imagine something like that happening if you're out there by yourself,
Right.
and there's nothing you can do. And then you're just waiting for, you're just waiting for a miracle, or you're waiting to die.
Or you harden up and crawl out. If you remember, Tom, he had that injury where he missed a step, and just went down straight onto his sternum, crashing, the rock right into the center of his chest,
Yeah.
with his pack crushing him. And luckily he was with his son and another group, and his son took his pack because he couldn't carry, he could barely move. In fact, he thought he was done for.
Yeah.
So if he'd been alone, that's a different story. And here's a guy with hundreds and hundreds of canyon miles to his credit.
Thousands. Yeah, for sure.
Thousands, yes, thank you.
Yeah, and Tom, when we talk about Tom, we're talking about Dr. Tom Myers, of course, who's been on this show so many times, great friend of the program here, and he was able to accompany us down Hermit when we did let's talk about Hermit now. Let's talk about
Okay.
Hermit Rim to River.
Let's
It's a
talk about
natural
Hermit.
transition, right?
It is.
Dr. Myers, I know that you, being a physician in Prescott, you feel a kinship with Dr. Myers as well, and Tom made a point to come up and hike with us for the first 4.5 miles, or first 4 miles, I guess it was, of the Hermit to the river route that we did just a couple of weeks ago. And you were pretty pumped to hike with him and hang with him, weren't you?
But he's the man. He's such an easy guy to talk to. And we had some things in common, obviously. And it was really, really fun to get to know him a little better.
It was fun for me to just kind of hang back and listen to you guys chat the whole way down, talking about your doctor things and using this terminology that I've never heard before, but giving me also a lot of confidence that if something were to go wrong, like we talked about, hey, I got a couple of doctors with me. My wife Zena actually was not nervous about me going on this hike for the first time ever. But Hermit Rim to River, okay, this is the second one we'll talk about. We talked about New Hance. That's a good one. This one I think is better for maybe for someone who's just stepping off the corridor trails, might be a little nervous about it.
I 100% agree.
Hance is much harder to find, much harder to follow,
Yeah.
much more rugged,
Yeah.
much more primitive. Hermit, 18.5 miles round trip, 5,200 vertical feet. And this trail is a piece of cake to follow the whole way until the turnoff to Hermit Rapids. But before that,
Yep.
I mean, the trail is easy to follow, no?
It's very easy, I think. You can get lost a little bit in those rock falls as you come across the never-ending Supai Traverse. Never ending. That has got to be 2 to 3 miles. It feels like it anyway. Yeah. And I think it's really easy to follow. Things only get confusing as you get down to the Hermit camp area where there's a turnoff to the rapids, or you can continue to your left onto the camp where there's a group campsite. And then from the group campsite, you can actually go down, I found out, down the canyon to the, and meet up with the other trail.
Yeah.
So, take a look at that before you do it. I loved that hike, and I thought, I thought it was pretty hard, actually. Not that anything in the Grand Canyon is a gimme or easy, but you look at it, like 18 and a half miles, it's not even, well, rim to rims are typically, what are they, like 22?
21 to 24, yeah.
21 to 26, maybe if you take the Bright Angel, or the 24 if you go to Bright
24,
Angel.
24 and a half, yep.
So you're thinking, I can do that. If I can do a rim to rim, I can do that. I felt it was significantly harder than a rim to rim in some ways, just because of the ruggedness of the creek bottom. That surprised. I mean, it shouldn't have surprised me. I sort of expected that last little bit in the creek to be difficult, but it was still more difficult than I hoped. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, you follow the trail down through the Coconino, which is always somewhat steep. There's a lot of riprap that they have on the trail there, which is really, really cool to see. We've done some podcasts recently with the trail supervisor for Grand Canyon National Park, Adam Gibson, and I've gotten some lessons on what riprap is and what how methodical they have to be to lay that trail. That it looks like cobblestone.
And some of that's probably 100 years old, too.
Absolutely, and it's amazing just the intricate detail they had to go to lay that. And there's long stretches of it on the upper part of of Hermit. So that was really, really cool to see, and the fact that it stood the test of time says a lot about how strong and necessary riprap is. But you get below the Coconino and you start working your way through that supine layer like you talked about. And for some reason, where this trail is situated, you're always able to look right across the canyon and see all of the layers, right?
I think that's the thing that's really special about Hermit is that feeling of being deep in the canyon, but always kind of able to, assess kind of where you are.
Yes.
If that makes sense, by comparing yourself to the mirror image on the other side.
And it feels like, with that mirror image, that when you're in that red supine layer that looks like essentially a layer cake, it goes on forever, it feels like you are in that thing forever, right?
Yeah.
It just never ends. But I mean, I guess another cool part of the trail. But after that, you dip down through the red wall, which is amazing. But I also want to talk about, before we get there, as you just enter into the supine layer, you get to Santa Maria Spring, right?
Yeah, that was beautiful. Little rest house there, and nice water trough, which is a good reliable water supply most years.
Yeah, nice little rest house that they have, which they got a chair in there. They've got a
grapevine. What was that plant running on the outside of it? A really pretty flowering vine is on the outside of it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely water in the area. And they have a register where you can write your name down. And then down just below it, as you mentioned, just built right into this giant boulder, they've got these old, I guess, pit toilets.
Yeah. I had gone past them multiple times on this trail before I even knew they were there. And then one day I was like, what the heck? And I'm usually too tired to want to investigate, but this time we investigated on our way down, which was smart.
Yeah.
And they're pit toilets, so, with locks on them. They're not open anymore.
Yeah. But we were able to, one of the doors was open, so we were able to get in there and for a little photo op. The boys like to do, right, Eric? They had someone, can you explain to me, is there any medical reason for this, or can you use your
side-by-side?
Your doctor intelligence, why we would have a side-by-side?
Side-by-side, because I guess when you gotta go, you gotta go. Is all I can think. I never understood the side-by-side. That's a thing. I think in the military it still is. I don't have enough military experience to
oh my God,
to comment.
Man. And when I say side-by-side, Eric and I sat there and kind of, we were right next to each other. Got a great photo out of it. Out of it. So we'll post that in our Hike Club Grand Canyon Facebook group if you want to check that out.
The show never ends in our Facebook group, and you're invited. Hike Club Grand Canyon is our private hiking community where you'll find Brian, Coach Arnie, and a legion of passionate Grand Canyon hikers of all experience levels there to help each other have their best possible Grand Canyon experience. So if you're serious about hiking the canyon the right way, this is where it starts. Search for Hike Club Grand Canyon on Facebook and join our conversation today.
Okay, talk about another feature on Hermit. Going through the red wall, always an interesting experience no matter what trail you're on, but here especially.
Yeah, so they have the cathedral stairs, they call them, and they're very steeply built. It looks like they brought in concrete even to help build these. But you just go through these large red wall spires, and it's really fun. And as you do it, the one of the other cool things about Hermit is you can see the trail. you can almost see where you're going the entire time. In some ways, it's almost, if you're at the top of Bright Angel and you look down and see Indian Garden, you can do that. You from the top of Hermit, pretty much once you get on a trail, you can see the Hermit camp way down there, and you can follow the trail backward. It's really a cool experience. The downside is you don't get those expansive views like you do on the South Kaibab. But I don't know. It's just a different feeling. You're inside this cozy canyon. I guess it's not a cozy. It's giant, and you just kind of follow the trail as it walks down the side of it.
Yeah, and those cathedral stairs through the red wall. I mean, if you just picture very, very tight, it's almost like the chimney. I think you mentioned that on South Kaibab.
Okay. Yeah.
Very tight switchbacks, except even tighter than South Kaibab, and even steeper than the chimney at the top.
And
of
the
South
red wall's kind of green here too, which is kind of a cool effect. It's more green gray.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we get down and traverse our way along I'm trying to remember the layers. By the way, as I try to remember the layers here, you got the temple, and then you got the Muav, and then you've got the Bright Angel Shale, which is the top of the Tonto layer. That's another thing. Recently, I've made it a point to learn the layers and really memorize them.
Me too. Yeah.
It makes it more interesting, doesn't it?
For me, it does. Yeah.
I think we've reached official canyon nerddom when we're worried about all the layers, but it is
the sub layers of the the
sub layers for sure, yeah, but it does make it just more interesting. Okay, so we make it down.
It does, and in some ways, if you know the thickness of each layer, you kind of know what suffering is ahead of you. I mean, you always know the Supai is going to be hard, and the Coconino and Kaibab are always hard. And the red wall is hard. So I don't know. I guess it's all hard. So just don't worry about it too much.
Yeah. So we get down, on the Bright Angel Shale, we get down to the Hermit Camp area. Kind of describe what happened when we got down there, because this is where some lessons were learned.
Okay, so lessons learned. I've been interested in this Hermit Camp mostly because I dug up this old silent movie from 1922 that was filmed down and around there. And I thought there was a lot of infrastructure. There was a lot of stuff down here. And as I researched, there was actually a tram that went off Pima Point and was unsuspended all the way to Hermit Camp. I mean, you're just hanging on this wire going down. It's got to be 4,000 feet. It's crazy to think that they had this there. And the tram wheels are still there. The anchor for that tram is still there. The foundations of all these buildings. There was a camp there for about 12-ish years, I think, from about 1918 to 1930-ish. And then they eventually decommissioned it and burned it down. But I wanted to see the remnants of that camp. So we got to the turnoff for Hermit Rapids, which is off to your right, off the Tonto. And I said to you, I'm going to go up here and take a look and then maybe head to the bathrooms. And what I think you heard was, I'm going to go up there and go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
So I went up one way and you gave me my space, which makes sense. And I just kind of felt like you just didn't want to see the ruins. And I didn't know. And then I came back to the Tonto Trail about, I would say maybe 100 to 200 yards down or further down the trail toward the Hermit Camp than where the sign was, where you were at. And you couldn't see each other. And I continued on to the Hermit Camp where they have really nice, those self-regenerating toilets, those ones with the self-composting. And I get there and I'm like, oh no, Brian's not here, because I fully expected you to be up there waiting. And that wasn't the case. So from that point, I ran into, luckily, some other hikers that were leaving. Otherwise, I would have turned around and gone back. But there were some other hikers heading out. And I said, well, if you see Brian, tell him I'm to head toward the river and we'll meet up.
From my perspective, I followed you in there. You veered off to the left and you were going up. Mm-hmm. It was a miscommunication,
yeah,
obviously.
Absolutely.
And I kept on following the trail. I came to this old horse stable and trough livestock area, which I thought was cool because it had been abandoned for so long, and just kind of taking pictures down there. And then it was a little chilly in there. And so me being the soft Arizona boy that I am, I had to go look for sun at that point. And I just decided to backtrack because I figured we were meeting at the sign that said Hermit Rapids this way. And so that's where I went. I went right. That made sense to me. So I went back there and stood on a rock in the sun and just waited and waited and waited and waited and waited, and was really trying to, figure out what the heck had happened here, because I did not know about those toilets you were going to. I did not know about the campground up there. I did not know there was another way down. To me, it said Hermit Rapid. This is where I'm staying and I'm not moving, period.
Right.
And sure enough, here comes this family, this family of backpackers. And from a distance, they go, Brian! I'm like, oh boy, what has happened here? And then she doesn't say anything else until she gets right up on me. And then she told me that your friend had gone down. We showed him a way to go down toward the rapid that way. So if you
Yeah.
just head down here, she's like, by the way, this makes a lot more sense to go this way. And she said,
Oh,
if you just go
and
down here.
she didn't tell me that. They were like, "Oh yeah, you can just head down this way into the canyon." And it was gnarly.
Yeah.
From the camp, it was very, no, I would have much been better off just coming back on a trail and going down with you, but
And at
anyway.
one point, I did hear some whistling coming from down there. So I was
Yeah,
like,
that was me.
"God,"
Yeah.
before I talked to her. So I was like, there's somebody down there. So
Yeah.
anyway, I head down that way and I'm just like, what the heck? And sure enough, it didn't take me long before I look up and there you are, just
Yeah.
having a little break. I was like, thank goodness. But it was a
Yeah.
relief. It was a relief to see you.
Well, the crazy thing is in my little pea brain, I'm like, "Oh, well, we'll just cruise down to the river. He'll be waiting at the river. It'll be no problem to find each other." And then now that we know what we know about Hermit Canyon,
Yeah.
it's you can get lost in there 20 feet from each other. There's so much
Yeah.
brush and so many weird rocks and so many, I mean, that was, I had no clue.
Stop getting interrupted. Hikin packs are designed so you can keep on moving. A front access harness with 6 pockets keeps your snacks, water, and essentials right where you need them, so you don't have to stop and take your pack off. Our Rim to Rim and Canyon Elite packs are both 25 liters. On your heavier or longer hikes, choose Canyon Elite. It's got a hip belt. Stay in rhythm. Hike your best hike with hiKin at hikin.club. That's HIKIN.club.
But before we go the rest of the way to the river,
Sure.
and yeah, that was an interesting 1.5 miles to the river, 1.7 miles, I think it was, from that point.
Yeah,
But I think there are lessons to be learned there
absolutely.
from you and I hiking together. First time
Mhm.
we've ever met, first time we've ever hiked together.
Right.
And I think that even if you do know someone, that same thing could happen in that situation. And I think it
Yep.
says a lot about just you really can't over communicate in a place, especially like the Grand
Right.
Canyon, where if you just, it was hard. I thought it was pretty hard for us to get lost from each other because it was a relatively
Right.
small area, but still, it's big enough down there.
It's still big. It's still really big. It was shockingly big. And then you get the noise from the creek. You can't hear a thing. It's really, don't break up the party is what I'm trying to, that's probably the take home message. And if you have to, you've got to over communicate.
Yeah. Like, hey, what are you doing? Where are you going again? What are you doing?
And don't feel free to ask the stupid questions and to maybe overemphasize things because that just I should have communicated better.
And then
Yeah.
the communication as well. When we started down, we'd been
Yes.
kind of just meandering and
Yeah, we've been taking our
lollygagging a
time
little
around
bit,
there. Yeah.
enjoying everything, spending a lot of time. And I was looking at my watch. I go, and I think I said something to you like, "Hey, man, it's this time, and I'm
Yeah.
doing the math backwards, and I don't know if we're gonna be able to get out of here by dark."
Yeah.
And you thought that I essentially was meaning something else when really the only thing that I was worried about is I really wanted to get out of there before dark to finish
Right.
the entire trip. And we still had to get down to the rapid and we didn't know how long that was going to take.
Right. We didn't. And so my experience of that was I was ahead of you trying to find the trail, essentially blaze through it. And again, it's hard to talk because you're hiking fast. There's a loud river next to you or a loud creek. And I was just like, man, I'm thinking to myself, because I've done this to people actually quite a bit. I've gotten them in over their heads. They go quiet. They start to stew or whatever. They start to feel uncomfortable. And I'm like, oh, shoot, is Brian just in misery trying to make his way back and forth across this creek? The trail is very not clear. We don't really know how far it is to the river. We know it's down there eventually, but it seemed like, again, forever in that last 1.5 miles. It was taking a long time, probably took well over an hour. And then, I'm worried you're sweating time. You need to get back to Phoenix and all these other sorts of things. And I'm just like, maybe we shouldn't have done this. And I essentially, I'm codependent enough that I thought you were miserable. And that was kind of making me like, dang it, feel bad about the experience. But that wasn't the case at all, right? You were loving it.
It wasn't. No, it wasn't the case at all. I absolutely loved it. I was glad that you
Mhm.
were, leading the way through the canyon down there, trying to get us to the river. No, truly the only thing that it was in my mind was that I wanted to get out of there before dark, and I should have done a
Right.
better job communicating that to you. And we ended up
Right.
doing a negative split on the way out, which I
I
did
know,
not
right?
see coming. So we had
No.
plenty of daylight. It turned out at the end of the day, but
Yeah.
we didn't know that at the time. So that was it, man. That's all I was worried about. And boy, it
Right.
was interesting going down that side canyon. I mean,
Oh,
you
yeah.
want to talk about gorgeous. I guess it's probably the Tapete sandstone
Oh,
that's
yeah. It is. It is. Yeah.
just carved out. That you could tell just eons, generations of just water running through there. It's just cut out this magical side canyon. In fact, that lady who the backpacker who had told me where
Mhm.
you were had said as I started down, she's like, "You're about to see one of the best parts of the entire canyon," and I think ultimately she was right.
She was, and I agree with that. I've never been down Hermit Canyon before, and boy, that was a mistake to not have gone there before. It is truly beautiful. As I think, the Grand Canyon is such a dry place that when you get a place with water in it,
Yeah,
especially perennial flowing water, it's just really special.
yeah.
It's also really bushy. So that's where all the plants decide, hey, man, we're going to grow here, and you got to work your way through them.
Yeah, the good part about this is that the canyon is narrow enough that you're eventually going to get to the rapid, I think, but it is extremely difficult because there are little social trails going everywhere. You don't know where the
Everywhere.
main trail is. You're just going crisscrossing the creek, just back and forth. And, there were times when you were over on one side of the creek and I was on the other side of the creek.
Yes.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, I think I got it. And you're over there going, I think I got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Eventually we just made our way down there.
Yeah. And then you come to the rapids.
Oh, man. You can hear them coming, man.
Yeah.
Listen, to me, the best part about these off-corridor trails that I have found, Tanner, Hermit, and New Hance, is that they end at significant rapids on the Colorado.
Yeah.
And there is just something about that payoff, man, it's exhilarating. It's
Yeah.
exhilarating. We finally break through that brush, like literally break through the brush. And
Right.
then right there in front of us is Hermit Rapid.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, that was it was almost a Niagara Falls moment to me. That's the only other thing I can compare it to, where you watch a large river just sort of fall over. Now, obviously, it's not a large waterfall like that, but you can see this. It's almost like there's a lake of smoothness above it, and then as soon as it hits the rapids, you can just see the water just go through it. It was a beautiful rapid. I'd be pressed to pick my favorite, but I think Hermit was my favorite of between Hance and Tanner and Hermit. I liked Hermit the best as far as just the feeling of being next to that one.
And it's just
Hance
so
is so loud.
Yeah, Hance it's so long and it's wide.
Yeah.
And this one,
Yeah.
Hermit, is a little narrower. It's not that far to the other side. It's just kind of a chute where, like you said, you just look barely up and the water's just still. And then it gets
Still.
in this tongue where it just starts zipping and boom,
Yeah.
it suddenly becomes this major rapid on the Colorado. And there's just something
Yeah.
about just sitting there and just, having your lunch and listening
Yeah.
to the roar and watching it and just thinking about where you are, being at the bottom
Yeah.
of the Grand Canyon. How much better does it get than that?
No, it's amazing. All the beaches are amazing.
By the way, I did find out that you're not the biggest fan of rivers.
No, well, I know I'm not. I guess I don't. I don't know how to describe that, but the noise gets at me after a while. I'm ready to just go upstream a little bit and be quiet. I guess I'm more of a rock guy than a water guy.
Huh.
So I need to do a river trip sometime. I camped one night by the river, and I actually was I found it really annoying. Now I know a lot of people, it's just great white noise and they sleep great, but I just wanted to get out of there.
Yeah, I would sleep on a rock in the middle of the river if I could, just to
I bet
listen.
you would love it. Yeah, it's surprisingly loud, these rapids. Surprisingly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, that's it. Another thing I wanted to talk about as we talk about wanting to sit down at the river, and again, I wish we could have spent more time there because it's fun to just chill and just
Yeah.
observe and listen and it's just a smorgasbord for the senses, and it's a beautiful thing. But this time of year, the days are shorter, and we're talking about
Yes.
winter time. We did this in February. The days are shorter, and I do want to mention that maybe if you did this another time of the year, you could spend more time at the river because there's more daylight. But the other times of the year, these are not hikes that you want to be doing because
No.
talking about very little water the entire way, very little shade, extreme temperatures. The same rules apply times about 100 on these trails versus the corridor trails. This is the only time of the year to do it, isn't it?
Right. No, for me, the Grand Canyon is a place to hike between probably October and May. That's it. Anything outside of that, I'm really not interested in going there. And even then, if it's a shoulder, month like a May or September, even boy, you really want to check the weather. It's dangerous. The other thing about Hermit to remember is you can drive your car out there between, November, December, January, those 3 months. You can drive your car out to the end of Hermit, which is really nice to have that in case something happens, you get out late. If you get out late and you're dependent on a shuttle and the last shuttle has left, well, you're stuck there. I mean, you got another 7-mile walk to Bright Angel Lodge on the road.
Yeah, and just to clarify, December, January, February are the months when you can drive out there.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, December, January, February. Yeah.
Yeah, and but that makes such a difference. First of all, it is really cool to be able to drive between the village and Hermit's Rest. So many incredible overlooks that you can pull off, Powell Point, just all kinds of cool things that you can see out there. And then being able to drive to the trailhead and then finish at the trailhead and finish at your car versus having to shuttle out there the rest of the year. What a hassle that would be. So that's another reason why this is definitely the time of the year to be doing Hermit. Okay, on the way out of there,
yes.
For some reason, remember we were looking at each other? Like the trail was 1,000 times easier to follow on the way out. Why was that?
It was completely obvious on the way out. And I felt like an idiot. Like, how did I miss this so much coming down? And coming out, it just was right out of the canyon.
Yeah.
That's probably why we negative split it, because we weren't trail finding, you know?
That did make a big, big difference. The climb out of there, listen, the Hermit hike overall, for some reason, I think it's what we talked about earlier, where you have the mirror image of the canyon on the other side, and it just looks so big and imposing. That's how this hike feels to me overall.
Yeah.
It feels big, and there, 5,200 vertical feet with the downs on the ups and the ups on the down is what I got at the end of this thing. This is overall. This is a big, satisfying hike.
It is. And it's a real steady climb and then a real steady flat for a bunch of years it feels like years.
Feels like years, yeah.
And then you got the final, push through the Coconino and the Kaibab, and that is never easy. It's just slow and steady.
Yeah. And we had snow that we were contending with as well. Which makes it easier in some cases and makes it harder in some cases. But, eventually then, boom, you're out just like that. Canyon hikes always seem to end abruptly to me. Do you feel that way?
Like that's true. Sudden, they really do.
It's like, all right.
Oh,
that's it. We did it. Cool.
Yeah.
Right? The suffering's over.
Yeah. That was great. It was a great day. I really appreciated you doing that with me.
Oh, that was amazing, man. There will be many more. I think we were out there, 10 and a half hours, 11 hours, something like that. I don't even know. And aren't those the best hikes anymore? Because, I've been a guy who follows the watch and personal best and everything for a long time.
Yeah.
But the fact that I don't even really know how long we were out there, that's really what it's all about. And I know that's how you are.
Yeah. I don't really care too much about the times, but I am much more of a day hiker. So I have to be a little bit time conscious if you're going to try to finish in daylight or whatever. I'm usually on some kind of a clock, but it's that day. I think you should get into backpacking, Brian. Maybe it's time to go camp by the river on Hermit,
I hear that all the time, man. And it's like, okay, one step at a time here, guys. One step at a time here. Maybe. I don't know.
I want to do the Escalante route this spring.
We'll just do it in a day.
It's easier to do as a 3-day than it is as a do you know what that is?
I do.
And I wouldn't come up Grandview. I think I'd go down Tanner and come up Hance. It's only 30 miles.
Is that all?
Is that all? Yeah, but if you camp 2 nights, it's not too bad.
I really do feel like I'm under assault from the backpackers in our community, whether it's Eric or Joe Adlock or Tom Myers or Caleb or Aaron. I'm feeling a lot of peer pressure, fellas. Look, I'll probably break at some point, but I'm not quite there yet. Part 2 of my conversation with Eric Nelson will come next week when we tackle the Tanner to Tanner Rapid rim to river, as well as all the routes from Bright Angel and South Kaibab. So don't miss that. Well, Coach Arnie's talking about something this week that's second only to the heat in hikes that it has completely wrecked for me. And that something is the downhill. It's the very thing that makes canyon hiking so unique because unlike most hikes, you go downhill steeply for a long time before you have to ever climb. So it's kind of a backwards way of thinking in the Grand Canyon and a backwards way of training as well. But it's something you have to think about before you ever drop in.
This tip is about something that is probably the core and the reason for my program. The reason for what I teach now, and that is focus on the downhill. You're all saying, why? Well, because we're at the Grand Canyon. No, but seriously, because by working on the muscles, tendons, ligaments that help us to slow down, stop, and change direction. That will allow us to save the muscles necessary for those big climbs. Does that make sense? If we're using the muscles properly going downhill, which is what I call our braking system, those hamstrings, glutes, the muscles that slow us down, the anterior tibialis, strong, mobile, bouncy feet, okay? Those will allow us to save the muscles necessary for those big climbs. So we must also focus on good posture, which is pelvic position. That's that area in the middle of your body. That thing has to be teetering back and forth, and keep a nice neutral position. And that is so important. And you must have strong or build strong and mobile feet. All these things allow us to have a better downhill and at the same time allow us to have a wonderful uphill. All right. And lastly, by working on the downhill muscles, you will learn, and I mean regardless of age. And I go to the mat on this one all the time with people, regardless of age, how to be bouncy again. Bouncy has to do with your fascia, your tendons, your ligaments, and all those things can be trained, and all those things can be strengthened regardless of age. So don't listen to anybody, and I mean anybody, that tells you can't do it. All right. So, and in time, all of you will be doing the Coach Arnie dance in the canyon. I promise you. I love you guys. And as usual, if you have any questions at all, please get a hold of me. I will talk to you and we will straighten you out if that's what we need to do, or give you a big hug or some encouragement. I love you. Talk to you later.
Coach Arnie Fonseca Jr., our exercise physiologist and canyon coach. His contact information is in the show notes. Two things I would like to add to the downhill talk. Number one, poles are your friend. Being able to take some of the load off your legs helps immensely. And I will tell you, I hiked rim to river once without poles. My first time. And I have not and will not be without them ever since. Never again. Number two, being intentional about your pace. I used to bomb down South Kaibab, but feeling lousy at the bottom and knowing you still got the toughest part of the hike ahead of you can be simply soul-crushing. So I found that being conscious about what I'm doing and simply slowing down helps a lot. Takes a lot of the beating off of your legs, and you're going to need them for that long climb out of the canyon, wherever you are and whatever hike that you are doing. Hey, folks, a favor I have to ask of you. If you like the show, would you please leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or anywhere you're listening? That helps us get in front of those who need us and helps ensure that we'll keep at this for a long time to come. Please go leave us a review. It just takes a minute, and we would be so grateful. Thanks again to Eric Nelson. He'll be back next week for part 2 of our Rim to River breakdown. Until then, my name is Brian Special, encouraging you as always to go hike the canyon. You got this. Take that first step. Embrace the journey. And when you get there, whether it's for time goals or taking your time, just hike your own hike and savor every step in the majestic Grand Canyon. We'll see you next time on the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show, powered by hiKin. Support the brand that makes this show possible at hikin.club. That's HIKIN.club.